Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're back today with another video. Today, I've been doing a video. This is a video I want to do for a little while now, but I just haven't gotten around to because it's been kind of crazy. Between writing articles and producing content for other websites, I feel like I've been running around quite a bit. So it's been a little bit hectic, so I haven't uploaded in a while. I haven't been able to get friends together to talk for a while. But today, it's just a little solo thing. It's going to be something that's kind of interesting, though, because I think we're going to get through this together and we're going to be able to see some bold predictions from an NFL writer for NFL.com named Adam Schein. He's wrote this column a little while ago, so it's a little bit old. You might have seen it if you've been looking through the website for now, because I'm kind of desperate for sports content. So I know it came out a while ago. So I've been on sports sites nonstop the last couple of months. But anyways, he wrote an article I'm going to share with you now. It's bold predictions for the upcoming NFL season. And so we're going to go through this right now. We're together. We're going to react to it. We're going to see what we think is realistic, what's not realistic. And we're just going to basically evaluate his predictions and go. I'm going to give my opinions on it. You can, however you feel, add your comments, add your concerns down in the comments section, and give your own takes. And we'll see exactly what I agree with and exactly what we don't agree with. And I am posting the link to this article, by the way, in the description, so you can go check it out there for yourself. But anyways, we're starting off here with a banger. It's the Patriots will collapse to a top 5 pick in 2021 NFL draft. Now, this was written before Cam Newton signed with New England. And I agreed with this before Cam Newton signed. I totally agree that the Patriots were going to absolutely fall apart. I think they still have some pieces on their defense that are good. Stephon Gilmore, Devin McCourty. But at the same point, it's not the same unit as last year. They lost plenty of linebackers. They lost a lot offensively, especially Tom Brady, obviously. But I think the Patriots, before they signed Cam Newton, were really in a hole. I think regardless of how Jarrett Stidham played, I think they would have had a top 10 pick at the very least. I thought they were ranked probably in the bottom 5 teams in the NFL in terms of talent and stuff like that. Now, Bill Belichick obviously is a great head coach, but I thought the original plan was for them to play Jarrett Stidham, see how it worked out, and if it worked out poorly, well, then you just lose a bunch of games. You get a top 5 pick. Maybe you get Justin Fields, maybe you get Trevor Lawrence then, or even Trey Lance. But instead, they've gone out and sent Cam Newton to a 1-year deal. It's a genius contract. I've written about it before. It's an incredibly smart contract, incredibly good contract for the team. So now that you've added Cam Newton, I don't think they're going to collapse to a top 5 pick. I think that's unrealistic. But I think they'll still have a top 15 pick. I don't think they're going to do drastically better. Well, they're not going to do as good as they did last year, obviously. I think they're going to do better than what they would have done without Cam Newton, but I don't think adding him changes everything. Just because it's going to be very interesting to see how Newton adjusts the offensive system in New England. They don't usually have running quarterbacks, obviously. And I think Newton's production in the past has been a little bit different than what you normally see from quarterbacks in New England. I actually had a tweet earlier today. It was my stat of the day regarding the Patriots and the level of production at quarterback versus what Cam Newton usually does. So the stat was Newton hasn't thrown for over 4,000 yards since 2011, which was his rookie season. In comparison, Tom Brady has thrown for at least 4,000 yards in 9 of the past 11 years. Newton only has 1 season with 25 or more passing touchdowns. Brady has 10 of those seasons in the past 11 years. So it's a very different dynamic between these two kind of quarterbacks and behind what they really are used to doing in their normal offensive systems. Obviously, Cam in Carolina and then Brady in New England. So it's going to be a very different team this year. I still think they're going to have a losing record. I don't think, or maybe they get to 8-8. I don't think they're going to get 9 wins. I think they're going to end up being either at 500 or having a losing record and finishing with a top 15 pick in the NFL. Josh Jacobs will win the rushing title. This is interesting, and it's also possible. I don't think we'll see Derrick Henry perform at the level he did last year. I probably said that, though, honestly, going into last season as well. But at the same point, I feel like he did so well that eventually everybody just gets worn down. We saw this with guys like DeMarco Murray in the past, where he had spent like that one lost season of his career in Philadelphia. I mean, it happens to guys where you just eventually hit a wall and it takes maybe a year or so to get back to where you are. Yeah, because that's when DeMarco Murray won the rushing title in 2014. Basically, just 702 rushing yards in Philadelphia in 2015. And then he rebounds in 2016 with Tennessee, but it wasn't a smooth transition at all. So I think you could see a scenario where Derrick Henry goes through a similar thing where he just doesn't have a great year. Just going to be rough for him because he hasn't signed a massive contract extension yet. But Josh Jacobs, A guy who averaged 88.5 rushing yards per game last year only played 13 games, so he would have had a really good stat line if he had played all 16 games. I don't think he's going to win it. I would lean more towards either Saquon or Nick Chubb. I think it's going to be one of those two. I don't think it'll be Josh Jacobs. But it's understandable to put Josh Jacobs there just because he's not a guy who gets used in the passing game a lot. So for him, it's all running game. It's not being dragged out like someone with Saquon's involved in the passing game as well. Josh Jacobs doesn't have to do that. So he doesn't get the touches in the passing game. He takes less hits that way. And also in a team like Las Vegas with the Raiders, Derek Carr's a good quarterback, but not a great quarterback. So you're going to see a fair mix of the rushing attack in there. And for Josh Jacobs, 242 carries last year in 13 games. That's about 18 and a half attempts a game. So we'll probably see him be right around the same number again next year. Yeah, I think like I said, he's got a shot. He's one of the guys I would put up there if I had to rank like a top 7 or 8 guys who could win the rushing title. I think he would definitely be up there. But I think that's partially because of his lack of versatility. And I think it would still take him probably 20 rushes a game if he was even getting in that range of winning the title. But that being said, it's up there. It's totally possible for him. Sam Darnold becomes a star. I totally agree with this. If you don't know him already, I'm in the camp that I like Sam Darnold and I don't like Josh Allen. We're talking about the quarterback class from a couple of years ago. I think Sam Darnold is not the best quarterback from that class. Obviously, I think that would be Lamar Jackson, but I think he's got the potential to be a 15-year starter. I don't know if he'll be a superstar, but I think he's got the potential to be a 15-year quality starter. I think we've seen some of that at points in games, but we haven't seen over a full season with him yet. I think Mono had a lot to do with it last year. Obviously, he gets Mono. He comes back. He wasn't fully healthy when he came back. He lost some weight. He wasn't in the swing of things when he came back from having mono. And he's just on a bad team, let's be honest. The Jets are a bad team. That's a bad roster. That offensive line was terrible last year. The wide receiver group got even worse this offseason, so I think they're going to have some real issues there. I think he'll become a star. It's just a question of when. Because I don't know if he'll be this coming year. Because like I said, offensive line's gotten a little bit better this offseason. It's not fantastic yet. The receiving core, it's not that good. It's maybe neutral from where it was last year. So they lost Robbie Anderson, but added a few pieces as well, like Denzel Mims. But it's not great. Le'Veon Bell, I think, will do better than what he did last year just because I don't think he could do worse. So for me, I think he'll do a lot better this year. I think he'll stabilize and become a more stable NFL player that will be harder to criticize. I don't know if it'll be a jump to starter per se. At the same point, I think Josh Allen would go the opposite way. I think Josh Allen, who had some difficulties his rookie year, really improved this past season, but still one of the least accurate quarterbacks in the NFL, one of the worst deep ball passers in the entire league. I think Josh Allen will kind of get exposed this coming year, especially if teams find a way to counter his legs. Because once you take away Josh Allen's rushing ability, I mean, if you gave him the mobility of Tom Brady, he's not even a starter in the NFL because he's not an accurate quarterback. He's got a cannon for an arm, and he's so bad at using it. He's incredibly inaccurate. Adding Stephon Diggs, I don't think that changes a lot of things. I think it'll still be a problem. So my take, Sam Darnold turning up, Josh Allen turning down. No, definitely not. The Dallas Cowboys are not going to be the 1 seed. Mike McCarthy is not winning Coach of the Year. There are many better coaches in the NFL than Mike McCarthy. Let me just say that right now. If Mike McCarthy was a great head coach, he would have been able to get along with Aaron Rodgers, and we would never have had that breakup in Green Bay. But we did. They didn't get along. And I think Mike McCarthy is a guy who's a solid coach, will always be remembered as a solid coach. But I'm not putting him in the top 7 or 8 coaches in the NFL because he's not in that group. And I'm not putting Dallas as a top seed because there's not going to be a top seed. I mean, not just a top seed in their division. It's saying a top seed in the entire NFC North. The entire NFC. That's just not happening. And there's a number of reasons you can point to that and just say, look, this won't work. Offensively, it's probably the best offenses in the league, I would say. With Zeke Elliott at the backfield, Dak Prescott's still pretty good. Puts up good numbers. Blake Jarwin, I think, will be a very good tight end spot. Offensive line, losing Travis Frederick hurts, but it's not a killer for them. Offensive line is still good. Adding CeeDee Lamb, that's a huge take-up for them. Defensive line. DeMarcus Lawrence, total whiff last year. Didn't perform nearly to the level of his contract last year, not even a Pro Bowl caliber player. Interior defensive line, Gerald McCoy, Dante Poole. It's old. It's a veteran 1-year deal kind of group. And the other defensive end, Tyrone Crawford, I don't buy it. Linebackers, Leighton Vander Esch, fantastic, phenomenal when he's healthy. The question is, will he be healthy? I think he will be. Jalen Smith, also very good. Sean Lee should have been gone probably a year and a half ago, but still there because Dallas can't find a better player for that to replace him. Cornerbacks, Trevon Diggs, I think is a good deal based on where they drafted him. You got Darrell Worley there too. But guys like Anthony Brown, Chidobe Awuzie, I probably said the name wrong. Jordan Lewis, meh, it's average. Safeties, Xavier Rhodes, Clinton Dix, meh. I think Clinton Dix signing was really good. I honestly like that signing a lot. But if you're looking at this defense and telling me this is going to be the top seed in the NFC, you're dead wrong. It's not. I mean, I think the 49ers are going to have a regression year. I think the 49ers will still be better than the Dallas Cowboys. I think the Seattle Seahawks will still perform better than the Dallas Cowboys because Russell Wilson's an elite quarterback, unlike Dak Prescott. So to me, this is wrong. This is dead wrong. And based on my comments just a second ago, obviously I disagree with this one as well. I don't think the Seahawks are going to miss the playoffs because I think this is probably, I wouldn't say it's a phenomenal Seahawks group. It's not. It's probably not it's not an elite team. It just isn't right now. And I'll tell you for numerous reasons. I believe in Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson is an MVP caliber player. Might retire as one of the better quarterbacks and never win an MVP if he doesn't get one here in the next couple of years. But at the same point, defensively, it's just a mess. I mean, Bradley McDougall is all right. Quandre Diggs, that's a really good trade from him last year. That was a great move. Shaquille Griffin took a huge step forward last year. They needed him desperately, and he came through for them. Trey Flowers, meh. I'm not sold on Ubu Amadai in the slot. Quentin Dunbar, I don't know if he's going to face legal repercussions for some things that have happened this offseason. Marquise Blair's a backup safety, but we haven't seen him a lot last year. Linebacker-wise, I like the linebackers actually quite a bit. It's just a question of how much coverage you ask them to play, because I don't think the linebackers they have right now are fantastic in coverage. Even Bobby Wagner. I mean, Bobby Wagner is not a lockdown coverage linebacker right now. So I wouldn't love that group in coverage, but if you play them a little bit differently than they have last year, I think they'll still be fantastic. I'm buying into KJ Wright. Jordan Brooks, I don't know about, but I trust Cody Barton on the other hand, so I'm kind of okay with that there. The big hole is the defensive line. You have Bruce Irvin, who set a career on sacks last year. You have Benson Mayowa, who you signed free agency. You signed both together in free agency. They both had career highs in sacks last year. But they're not true number one pass rushers. You got Jaron Reed, who had one really good year 2 years ago, alongside Frank Clark, but wasn't really anything special last year. Puna Ford, that's absolutely for eating space and for stopping the run. So you got two defensive tackle guys who didn't get to the quarterback last year at all. LJ Collier, who didn't stabilize himself at all last year, couldn't even get into the lineup really. Rookies and Alton Robinson and Darrell Taylor, who you drafted Darrell Taylor probably looked too high. And Alton Robinson was a one-hit wonder kind of in Syracuse where he had, not last year, but the year before that, he was really good. And he kind of came back, regressed this past season. So I don't know what you're going to get from those guys. So to me, the defense is the issue. The offensive line is always going to be kind of crappy in Seattle. I mean, you got Dwayne Brown, and basically that's it. They're shifting a lot of players around, and the offensive line may be able to get better, but Russell Wilson has to run for his life all the time. That being said, the supporting cast of DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde, tight ends are stacked. Will Disley, Greg Olsen, Luke Wilson, Colby Parkinson, Jacob Hollister. It's a stacked tight end group. I think the offense alone is enough to carry the Seahawks to the playoffs. I don't know if they'll get 10 wins, but they'll get to the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes was lower 51. Hey, you never know. I mean, that's Patrick Mahomes just signed a 10-year deal worth up to between $502 and $503 million. So he's up there now with he's the highest paid player in sports history in North America at the very least, if he plays out the entirety of the deal and gets all that money. He's at his largest contract in North American sports history. I don't buy the 51 touchdown pass just because he threw 50 in that 2018 MVP campaign. That was when he played all 16 games, and that was about as good as you can get. So throwing 51, you would need to have another year on that level. And I think he could. I think he will have more MVP seasons just based on what we've seen from him. But we saw last year, you don't have to be the ultimate stats guy to still take your team to the playoffs. I think Patrick Mahomes will realize that now. You don't have to put up video game numbers to still be the best quarterback in the NFL and still win Super Bowls. So I don't know if we're going to see Mahomes go and put up those godly numbers again just because he might not have to win Super Bowls. And if you don't have to, why put the stress on your strain on your body trying to do that? So Juju Smith-Schuster will dominate once again. As a Steelers fan, I'm hoping to God this is correct. Like this is, I love Juju just personally. Honestly, Juju is so chill. He's so cool. He just bought a house for his family. If you didn't see that, there's a video out there on his YouTube channel. So this is such a cool guy. I mean, I love him in the black and gold. I know this is last year's contract, so we might not see him with the team much longer. But I'm hoping he gets back to 2018 form. For those of you who don't know, in 2018, he had 111 receptions for over 1,400 yards and 7 touchdowns. This past season, he only played 12 games, 42 receptions, 552 yards, 3 touchdowns. So basically, his production was cut in half almost, if not by more. I think Ben coming back will help. I think Ben's good enough to elevate wide receiver 2s to wide receivers 1 statistically. I think Juju Smith-Schuster might be a wide receiver 2. So I don't know if he'll come back and dominate, really. But I think he'll come back and have an over 1,000-yard season because he's got the rapport with Big Ben. I think Ben kind of comes back and rising tides lift all boats. I think Juju will have a much better year. I don't know if he'll dominate. I don't know if he'll perform at that top 7 receiver level like he did in 2018. But at the same point, I think he'll have a much better year. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully he comes back and has that dominant year. I'm not saying he will, but we'll see. Matt Stafford will lead the NFL in passing yards. This is potential. Like this could happen because we've seen him throw for over 1,000 yards, over 5,000 yards in a single season before. That was back in. That was a while. That was 2011. Geez, that was his third year in the NFL. The following season, he threw for 4,967 yards. So he's been around the 5,000-yard mark before. This past season, averaging 312.4 passing yards per game before he got hurt. So that's right around. I think that's pacing 4,998 passing yards. Which, I mean, that could lead the NFL if you played the entire year. That wouldn't have led last year, but I think in an average year it could have. So he only played 8 games last year. If he stays healthy, he's going to have to play all 16 games if he wants to lead the NFL in passing yards. He's going to have to play all of them. But if he comes back and he does, he performs exactly like he did last year. I mean, he's a Pro Bowl player in that case. All right, so I think he really performed well last year. I think people don't give him enough credit for what he did in 8 games. I think if he played all 16 games, we would realize that, hey, that was a Pro Bowl caliber season last year. So it's possible. Would I say it's likely? I don't know because this is the first time in years he's missed a start. I mean, he's been playing 16 games since 2011, so he's been playing pretty consistently. But at the same point, I don't know. I don't know at this point when you got back injuries like that, they tend to come back. So I don't know if he's going to play all 16 games. I'd say this is definitely probable, but I wouldn't say it's likely that Stafford leads the league in passing yards. Derwin James wins Defensive Player of the Year. Yes, this is highly likely. I think it's going to be somewhere between Darius Leonard, Derwin James, Myles Garrett. I think that's kind of the group that we're looking at moving forward. TJ Watt will be in there. I think Chandler Jones will be in there as well. But Derwin James, in my mind, is the most talented safety in the league right now. I think I'll take him above Jamal Adams. I'll take him over Minkah Fitzpatrick, which hurts me as a Steelers fan to say. I'll take him over Harrison Smith. I'll take him over Eddie Jackson. Who else is up there? Tyrann Mathieu. I think I could take him over Tyrann. I mean, there's a lot of really good safeties in the NFL right now. I love it. There's a lot of great safety. That's one of my favorite positions in the league. But at the same point, I think it's Derwin James. I think Derwin James is the guy. This was the guy who was the first team All-Pro as a rookie in 2018. Got hurt, was on IR, missed most last year, came back for the final 5 games of the Chargers season just to play for them. Didn't have as productive, of course, in his 5 games as he was last season. That's because, he come back from the IR to play in the final 5 games of the season. That's not necessarily an ideal situation. I think Derwin James is the kind of safety who will win a DPOY before the end of his career. I sincerely think that. I think he's that kind of player. The issue with that is, it was really weird watching Gilmore win last year because I feel like the NFL right now favors sack artists so much. So it's surprising to see Gilmore win it. And because Gilmore win it, I feel like it's going to be hard for defensive backs to win the award maybe in the next 2 years. I think we're going to see guys like Chandler Jones and TJ Watt and Aaron Donald potentially come out and win those again. Just because I think the NFL is geared more towards the sack artists, kind of the same way that the MVP is geared more towards quarterbacks. The DPOY is geared more towards the defensive ends, the outside linebackers of the world. Now, there are guys out there like Charles Woodson, Trey Palmer, Ed Reed who come to win it. I think Derwin James can be one of those guys. But year to year, I would put more money on a sack artist winning than a safety or a defensive back. Anyways, guys, that's all for the article. I feel that was pretty good. I actually like that a lot. I think I'm going to do more videos like this in the future. But anyways, I'm leaving the link to this article in the description. You can go check it out and read all the explanations for yourself. This is Adam Schein. I hope I'm saying that name right. I'm probably not, though. He's the writer for NFL.com. I've seen him in the past. He's been around there for a little while, so feel free to go check all his stuff out. And I'm also posting the links to all my social media stuff in the description, along with all my articles and things like that. So feel free to go check those out. I think you'll enjoy some of the content. It's easy to scroll through. It doesn't require a ton of in-depth analysis all the time. And if you ever want to chat with me, I've got a Facebook page. I've got Twitter. I've got everything you can need. I've got Instagram down there. So if you just want to hit me up with a DM or anything like that, you just want to talk sports at me, dude, I've got all the time in the world right now. So feel free to go check me out and hit me up if you want to talk sports. But anyways, guys, that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. I'll talk to you all later.